Welcome to Graceful Healing, a podcast to get straight talk about healing and living again. My name is Maureen Lake. I'm a holistic health coach, speaker, author, and thyroid disease fighter. Each week, I'll be bringing you graceful conversations to inspire you to seek new ways to hit the reset button to catapult your health and vitality to new levels. Listen in and open your heart to all the new possibilities. Are you ready? Let's do this. Oh, I've got such an amazing guest today. Amanda Freed is one awe-inspiring woman. She's a yoga teacher and meditation teacher based right in Tucson, Arizona. Now, I practice a mantra-based meditation, as does Amanda, but she explains so many things so beautifully, like the Sanskrit language, the spiritual language of meditation. I'm telling you, I was blown away. Listen as she shares the 4 states of awareness and other hidden gems I'll just bet you're not aware of. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to have Amanda on the show today. She has so much information to share, not only about yoga, but meditation, which is a true love of mine. And one of the reasons I know I'm able to heal myself is because of meditation. So I can't wait to hear everything she has to share with us. Hi, Amanda. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Maureen. I'm so thrilled to be here speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to have you. Are you kidding me? I've heard so much about you through Michelle, and I'm just so excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you.
So to get started, can you share a little bit about your personal story or journey, like how you landed where you are today? Help us connect the dots.
I will. Well, it's interesting because where I started has little to do with where I landed. I feel like I was brought up in New York City and, a very mainstream family, 60s and 70s in New York with people that were basically very earthbound. My whole family was just pretty much about living life and loving the material world. And when I was born, I was like, wait, this is not all there is. There's more. So I always say that I was sort of the white sheep of my family, right? Like I was the one, I wasn't interested in going out and drinking and partying and doing all that stuff. And I always felt like there was more. And when I wasn't sort of living a spiritual journey, I was unhappy and unwell. I was a terrible migraine sufferer. And so it was a little bit older that I found what I kind of wanted. And it pretty much started with yoga. I was like, oh, there's people speaking my language, and Shirley MacLaine's books of all things. I was like, I would read them and go, wait, she's just figuring this out. I kind of came onto the planet knowing that there was a spiritual world. So it was kind of a hard journey, really, because it wasn't really accepted in my family. Mm-hmm. And, my family actually tried to keep me away from it a little bit. And because they were afraid, it's like, oh no, she's going to lose her stuff and go off and live in a commune or, just really be untethered to what they thought was the real world. And I was like, this isn't the real world. So I started with yoga and then, sort of fell in love with it and then fell in love with meditation. So I've been teaching yoga for between 15 and 20 years and teaching meditation for 10 years. And there's no going back, right? Once you start on these paths. Oh gosh, no. Did you do your training in New York City or did you do that somewhere else? No, I had I did started my personal journey, and that's when like crystals were getting really popular and stuff. But my yoga teacher training was here. I had started with John Friend, who started Anusara Yoga, and Noah Maze was a great teacher of mine. And then through Anusara Yoga, I met philosophy teachers. Oh, and so my first meditation teacher was Paul Mulla Ortega. And so it was like 5 years and many, many thousands of dollars to learn meditation. But I got my teacher training certification in meditation from Sarah McLean Institute. And that was lovely. Wow. So just so the listeners know, you're located in Tucson. So I am. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, but I teach internationally. Oh, wow. And so I travel and I teach and I do things like this over Skype. There's no getting away from me, really. if this is stuff you want to train, you want to study. Technology, which most of us or many of us are so afraid, especially our generation, right? And it's just such a gift.
It is a gift. I know. You can reach so many people in so many ways. And half the world doesn't even realize what you can do with it.
Right. And I always say, if I can do it, anybody could do it. Because, those of us who didn't grow up with it are kind of terrified of it. It's like, no, you want to learn meditation? Yeah, let's do it over Skype together. So, while I love to travel and teach, I also love to just meet people where they're at, both physically and on their journey.
Cool. So what about your family now? Are they more accepting of what you do, or?
Most of them are gone.
Oh.
Most of them are, it's funny. As I got older, and I've done so many different things. Like, one of the things I did was I went on, early in my journey, I went on a retreat with the medicine wheel, the bear tribe. And my mom actually came with me.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty amazing. Of course, she had a very different experience than I did. So it has come full circle. And my kids, who I thought just assumed that I was insane. My kids are very mainstream humans. My son's in the Navy. And my daughter is, kind of as we would call a normal human. She moved into a new house one time, and she called me up and she said, "Mommy, would you come and smudge my house?" And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
So I think, that people start off resistant, and when they see it's not so fringy and it's not so woo-woo, and I'm still living a quote unquote normal life, it's more accepted.
Oh, sure. Sure. And as time goes on, it gets more and more accepted. Yeah. So what type of meditation do you typically teach?
So it's interesting because, as I said, like, my first experience was, or my first very in-depth experience was with a very esoteric teacher and a very esoteric method. So it was incredibly expensive. I loved it. I'm thrilled that I have that background. And I kind of started to get on the teaching path of that. And he was kind of based in transcendental meditation. My teacher had been a student of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Oh, cool.
So it was based in TM, but it was kind of with a little extra flavor put in.
Because that's actually what I practice. And it's just changed my world. It really has. Right. But I get so frustrated that it's so expensive for people to learn.
That's exactly right. That's exactly it. So when I started on the teacher training path, I went, wait a minute. I don't want to teach something that's so expensive. I also don't want to teach to a very tiny portion of the population. And that's when I went to Sarah McLean and I got certified as a meditation teacher. And hers was super, super, I want to say, mainstream. Her method was very, very mainstream. And so what I do is I join the two.
Oh, cool.
So what I teach is mantra meditation. And, sometimes I'll do some guided stuff, but what I really like to teach people is mantra meditation. And so it's adding all of my learning, and I give props and credit to my teachers. So it might be in like a TM format where you do get a mantra, but it's not your own personal mantra. We use what I called like a canned mantra, but you get the soup to nuts of this is where you meditate. This is how you meditate. Don't worry about the mind, so that thing, so it's not as expensive. Right. I try to keep the price point incredibly, incredibly low because I do really want everybody to meditate.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't even remember how I fell into TM, but I knew that I needed a mantra type meditation. And even though sometimes I'll do guided meditations, and like when Oprah and Deepak have their special 21-day thing, I'm a constant listener every day to that because I find that really calming. And a lot of times I'll listen to that. It helps me fall asleep at night. I don't even get through the meditation. I just kind of fall asleep. But there's something about that mantra that is so incredibly powerful. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't really understand the science behind it. Can you explain a little bit about the mantra piece of the meditation?
I was just going to say, do you want me to tell you?
Oh, I'd love to know.
So here we go. Mantra is just a tool for the mind. So the word manas is mind. Tra is tool, mantra. Now you could use the word one. You could use the word love. You could use any word you wanted. But when we look at Sanskrit, which is an ancient language, in every letter of the Sanskrit language is imbued an idea, a feeling, a thought, and a connection to spirit. So when we're using Sanskrit mantras, they tend to open up different spiritual or energetic doors for us. Same with Hebrew. Hebrew was also an ancient language. Sanskrit was never meant to be a conversational language. It was never a conversational language. It's a purely spiritual language.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And so so when we do mantra and you have your mantra and you're doing it over, it's not just getting you in a mental groove. It's actually alchemically shifting your energy. So you're kind of stepping into this space of a mantra. And then it's also different. Like when we do our mantra, you do yours silently, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then when you think about what we call japa mantra or singing, kirtan, maybe you've been to those experiences, you hear music of maybe Shantala or David Pimel.
Right.
Same thing. You're getting this energetic hit. And that is the lips and tongue are moving. So there's different ways to look at mantra. But when we use our Sanskrit mantras, and even when I teach my course, even though I'm not giving individual mantras, we use Sanskrit words and they have a specific meaning. And sometimes, like when you were given your mantra, probably they didn't even tell you the meaning.
They didn't. And now I'm so intrigued to find out. I mean, because I don't even know how it was selected for me.
Yeah, it's better that you don't know the meaning.
Okay, good. All right, I'll accept that.
Because you know how we are as humans. Eckhart Tolle talks about this all the time. Like you see a dog, and the minute we see the dog, we go, oh, I know, that's a schnauzer, and we're done.
Yeah.
So if you were to be given the meaning of your word, then you would just focus on a lower vibration. Does that make sense?
It does, because I'd wonder, like, well, why'd they pick that for me? And, and all sorts of things other than what I should be thinking about.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of do know why they picked it for you and how they're chosen. But again, I don't want to give away anybody else's secrets because they're not mine.
Yeah.
But to know that, yes, this is actually creating a vibratory rate, and I am joining in with an energy basically on the planet that is elevating me. So the idea, guided meditations are fantastic. I don't care how somebody meditates, but when you give somebody a mantra, it's I always call this the analogy of giving somebody a fish. Right? If somebody's starving, you give them a fish they can eat once, but if you teach them how to fish, they eat for the rest of their lives. Yep. So this is it. Like you empower somebody, or I like to empower people, go, this is your practice. Once I teach you how to do this, you can do this forever and ever. And now you're not dependent on somebody's voice or a gadget, which again, those are wonderful. I don't take anything away. You want to use Headspace on your phone? Do it. I don't care what you do as long as you meditate. But it's a different path. And I want to give people ownership.
Well, and the research behind it is incredible. Just like medically.
Yes. And the important thing that I like to tell people all the time, like if you've ever seen the pictures of like the Buddhist monks with the electrodes on their heads, right? When you say the medical research, I like to tell people, and sometimes I hate to tell people, that's not going to happen if you meditate once a month.
Right.
That research is done with people who have a consistent practice over years. So if you want real change, it does take commitment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then it becomes such a part of your daily habit that if for some reason you can't get to it, oh my gosh, I mean, I miss it so badly that it's almost like this loss. Like, oh my God, I didn't get to meditate today. I just feel like crap kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Like by 3:00, if it ever happens, because I don't ever not meditate, but if it ever, something fell on me and I couldn't meditate, by 3:00, I look down, I'm going, why am I feeling so horrible? Oh, I know why. And, we're talking here's, and we wonder, we think about, I know you didn't ask me this question, like, why don't people? Or so many people will say, oh, I've tried to meditate. I can't.
I know. I hear that all the time.
I know. And I think what happens is, and you and I talked a little bit about this before we were recording with regards to yoga, I think people have all these ideas about what it's supposed to be, and that they're supposed to quiet their minds or something like that. And I think that that's what stops them. There is no way that you can fail at this. If you have all the information that you need, which is basically nothing, that this is not something you can be bad at and you can fail at. It is not about quieting your mind. It is not about making that stop. It is not about sitting still for hours on end. So I feel like once we take out all that old, or even sitting up in a particular way. So once we take out all that dogma and the stigma around it, I feel like people are so much more relaxed, and then they're not afraid to start, or they're not going to judge themselves. So I think that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Oh, I think you're so right. I mean, I know even with my sister, she tries to meditate and then she stops because she claims she can't clear her mind of thought. Like, Teresa, that's not the purpose. I mean, a lot of times those thoughts are coming forward. And this is what I just learned in my TM training, that it's stress that's being released from your nervous system. And a lot of times those thoughts are just, I don't know how you really explain it, neurological impulses being released. And so it's good to have thoughts and just go back to your mantra. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are, and you hit on something, and I love that they say it's your stress being released. I also heard this other term that I loved. It's your history being released.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yes.
Right? I love that.
Me too.
So, but here's the thing, and here's a little quick sort of history of that. The word samskara is a Sanskrit word, and it's about imprints. So every single thing that you've ever done or had happen in your life creates a stain or a scar or an imprint, and we call that a samskara or samskaric material. Even the good things. So everything's in there. So when we start to sit down and meditate, we're starting to move that energy, and we're lifting it off. So of course, a lot of it is going to become present during your meditation. So people either think, oh man, I got to follow that thought, or I got to call that person. Now I got to deal with this. It came up. Now I got to, no. Meditation is actually lifting it up so it can move off.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? Oh man. And what my teacher's saying, so you're putting, instead of focusing on your thoughts, you want to put yourself on something more charming, which is the mantra. So that's another thing that I teach people. It's like, yes, stuff is going to come up, but it's coming up so it can move off. And then I had a student say, well, then what do? I push it away? You do nothing. It's moving on its own. All you have to do, you show up, you repeat your mantra silently. That's your whole job. Everything else that happens, not up to you. And so you give people that, and they get wide-eyed, and they don't believe you, first of all. Right? Your sister will tell you 100 times, I can't clear my mind. And you'll say, you don't have to. And she'll say next week, I can't clear my mind. And you'll say, you don't have to. Week 1 in my training, I tell you, please don't try to clear your mind. Week 2, people say, I couldn't clear my mind. Week 3, I couldn't clear my mind. I'm like, okay, how do I say this? So, it's what we think is meditation. And it's exactly the opposite. And I feel the same about moving your body. People think they have to be stock still. Well, as some scars move, as this energetic material, these imprints, these stains are moving off, it also is changing the structure of your body. So there are times in my meditation where I've needed to move, and if I restricted that, then I wouldn't be allowing the shift in my body. We talk about body, mind, spirit. So as my spirit is shifting, there's going to be physical shifts. So if I got angry with myself, or I made myself sit stock still, I wouldn't be allowing for the expansion that my body and my mind are having together. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's fascinating, because there's sometimes when I'm meditating, I almost feel like you have this involuntary jerk,
Yeah.
And that totally explains what that is.
Right. And so one time in my own practice, I was sitting, and I happened to be on retreat. A lot of the magical things happen on retreat, right? And I felt I was sitting sort of in a classical seated posture, and I felt like I needed to move my legs and make more space. And I did, because, I'm okay with that now. And I moved my legs, and all of a sudden, this energetic shift happened. And I think I visualized like this heart, and it was just amazing, but only because I was at a space where I could allow that to happen.
Yeah.
In my body, did I then have this energetic shift.
Cool.
Right?
Well, when you talked about, you just brought up a whole other topic for me. When you talked about your visualization of a heart, okay, what are your thoughts or beliefs or feelings about when you continue? Like I've been meditating for quite a few years, and now I see things in my meditation. Am I just like imagining things, or is something like that actually occur?
Am I just making crap up?
Yeah, really. I figure since I have you on the line, I might as well just...
And somebody asked me this yesterday. I had so much fun yesterday. I was teaching a yoga teacher. So they're in their yoga teacher training. So I got to talk to them about meditation. It was super fun. And somebody asked the same question or a similar question. So, we say that there are like 4 states of awareness, right? Waking, sleeping, dreaming, and transcendence, or samadhi, or nirvana, or whatever you want to call that, that space. And so, you really kind of never can tell, right? Like in your dream state, it's actually your mind working. So I think that when these things do come up, there's a few different things. First of all, some of us see things, some of us hear things, some of us feel things. It depends on where you resonate. Like for me, like if I am working with a client and some psychic image wants to come up, because I do some of that work as well, healing work, body work, psychic imagery. I am a person that is sort of kinesthetic. I just come to a knowingness, but some people visualize. And I think for you personally, since you've been meditating for years, you know the difference between something you conjured up and something that is just coming into your awareness and becoming present. And what I'll say to listeners, especially like people that are new, the fact is it doesn't matter. It's coming through for a reason, right? Either it's some samskaric material from this life, or if you believe in past lives, something, an imprint that came up, or maybe something that's going to happen, or something that's being cleansed off of your fields. So, when I spoke before about like labeling things, the way Eckhart Tolle talks about labeling things, it's said that language is the lowest form of communication.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Right? Or
Yeah.
some teachers would say the highest ignorance. And that's why Sanskrit is sacred in that way. And that's why we don't want to know what things mean, because it diminishes them. And it's the same thing with any of this imagery. So a lot of it is beyond description, right? Maybe you just had a flash of a feeling, or maybe even a visualization. And the minute you tried to describe it, did it maybe go away? Or you couldn't really describe it in the way. So this is pre-thought even, because thought we have in words, right?
Right.
So these images that come up are pre-thought. They're energetic shifts. And maybe they could be chakras being opened up, energy centers in your body opening up or being cleared off. What do yours look? I know this is getting personal, like a reading, but what is it? What are you seeing? What do you?
Well, the majority of the time I see a human eye. And then some of the times I always see like a man talking in a microphone. Crazy, I know. But truthfully, the majority of the time it's like one human eye, and it's like a beautiful eye. I mean, it's gorgeous, and it fades, kind of floats, and then it fades away, and then another eye appears.
So here's the interesting thing. First isn't it funny that even though we're doing this podcast and we're already woo-woo and people know that, you say something that happened to you and we have to discount it and go, oh, it's crazy. I know. Right?
Yes.
We do. We sound, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound nuts. Well, we're not saying it. What's the difference? So the interesting thing with your visualization is I would say that you're seeing a human eye, EYE, but right now for me, intuition is telling me it's the Soham, it's the I that I am.
Oh.
In that meditation, you are contacting the I, the person, the spirit, that you really are.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, but it's your human mind that's giving you a physical eye.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to say, just from my intuition right now, what I'm pulling up, what's coming to me right now is that you made that picture of the eye, but it's not. It is when you're in that meditation, you are in the I am, Soham.
Wow. I never would have thought that. I mean, I just kept on thinking, I wonder whose eye that is.
Whose eyeball is that? Who's staring at me?
Exactly.
Stop it. Yeah. And the other one, the man with the microphone, is super interesting. And I even interpret that the same way. And when you do get that man with the microphone, I would definitely focus on it and ask, what is it that you're needing to hear?
Oh.
What am I needing to know? Because that is a transmission. You are getting a transmission in that time.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the other thing we really didn't talk about. So I do psychic reading as well.
We do.
and so when I work with people, who knows what comes up? It could be past relatives or, what they're meant to do in life. And, that's part of it. So all of this sort of interpretation, and that's why I tell people never discount something that comes up. Now, when you're meditating, one of my meditations, somebody's name came up and I was like, that's funny. Because your conscious mind is still present, right? Like, that's funny. I wonder why this person came up. And then immediately it was like, oh, you feel guilt around the situation. Now, as humans, we think, oh man, I better call that person and apologize. No, don't get up. Don't stop your meditation. See what happens at the end of your practice. And if anything is needed to be done or present, you'll know about it. But by the end of that meditation, it was gone. It was awareness. It came up and I allowed it to move off.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. Yeah, all of that is like clouds in the sky. If you let them pass, they're going to pass.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You've given me so much to think about. Gosh.
Feels like it's just you and me.
I know. Gosh. I feel like I just had a free session.
There you go. You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, so how long have you lived in Tucson? I've obviously visited Michelle, and we're actually going to hold a retreat in the fall in Tucson. I just find all of that part of Arizona, not necessarily the eastern part of the state, but that part with Tucson and Phoenix and Sedona and all that, to be incredibly spiritual. I mean, there's something about, I don't know what it is, the desert, the cactus, the mountains, the blue sky. I'm not sure, but it's just such an intriguing, beautiful landscape. And every time I go there, I live in Denver.
Okay.
But there's just something, I don't know what it is. There's a pull, I guess.
It's a funny question, and we probably should have talked about this before. I'm not a fan of the desert so much. It's a very harsh environment for me. But what Tucson does, and some of the spiritual pull is, it's a schoolroom. It is, and it's kind of a school of hard knocks. So if you sort of think about the environment, I have a kid that I work with university athletes as well. I do body work for them. And I have a kid from Canada, and he's adorable. And he said, Amanda, everything in the desert wants to hurt me. And, it can be like that. It can be a sticky, and spiritually, it's a very much in your face kind of place. Like, growth is exponential here. So you tend to, right? Yeah. So you really tend to come up with against your stuff a little bit. And so I've been here for 24 years, raised my babies here, who are grown humans now. And so part of me is like, okay, I've done enough growing. Let's move on. Because it's harsh. It's it can be like we call it a crucible. And it's beautiful. Some people love it and find it beautiful. And I do. There's a certain beauty to it. I'm a big hiker and I love it. But it's an interesting environment. Very good for spiritual growth.
Yeah. That's what I find about it too. And I can understand how you feel, because I've lived in Denver, which seems like forever. And I'm just so ready to move on, because it's like as much as I can put into it, I've already done.
Yes.
So
I get that. And as much as I can get out, it's like, okay, I've learned so much here. Thank you. I need to learn a different lesson right now, or a different part of me. And, like anything else, people think that dormant periods, nothing happens, right? But so much of our learning time really takes place in dormancy, in those, you think about, a seed underneath the earth, and it's dark and it seems like nothing's happening. Same with the dark moments of our lives. Yeah. It's like, oh man, nothing's happening. And no, that's when the real germination is happening. Right. And so sometimes in an environment like this, where there's just lesson after lesson after lesson after, it's like, okay, give me a break. Yeah. Exactly. I need a little ocean to, just sort of calm down from this. So it can be a place of huge growth, but it's not an easy environment.
I can see that. So tell us like how people can contact you and for what, and like promote yourself a little bit, because what you have to offer is truly amazing. So I want people to know how best to contact you.
Thank you. Yeah, there are so many ways. Well, I've got my website, which I know you enjoyed, but I really need to update it quite a bit.
And I'll have the link on the blog post for sure.
Oh, perfect. And, so they can email me through there. I also have a newsletter that I send out every month.
Oh.
And so I always ask that people get on my newsletter list, and they can, from my Gmail, if you put that on there, they can email me, and then I can get them on my newsletter list.
Okay, I will.
I give them a little reflections. Often I give them a little practice that they can do, whether it be a recording of me teaching a meditation, or maybe sometimes a breathing practice or a release practice or something. So that's always good for the newsletter. April 23rd, I'm starting a mantra meditation course. We're doing 6 weeks this time at the Core at La Encantada in Tucson.
Oh, cool.
And I'm thrilled to be doing that. The Core we haven't been able to work it out there. I present there very often. I teach compassion studies and mindfulness. Mindfulness different than meditation. I explain the differences and everything. So I get to teach at the Core at La Encantada a lot. And I really love that. And so this is the first time I'm excited I get to teach my mantra meditation course there. So that'll start April 23rd.
Oh, nice.
And I have a private office here in Tucson, but I also do, if your listeners are around the country, I love to come and teach workshops and seminars and talk with people around the country, like a weekend meditation workshop. The same thing I do in 4 weeks, we could really do in a weekend.
Wow.
And then I'd have to support online, so that I didn't just, I would want them to still commit to a few weeks of learning.
Yeah.
That's where I do corporate events, any way, Maureen, that I could get myself out there. And again, I don't do anything for a lot of money. My passion is turning on people to this that never thought. So people are like, well, this yoga studio and that yoga studio. I'm like, yeah, yoga studios are fun, but people are coming there anyway. They're already sold. I want the guys who aren't sold. That's why I love working at the Core, because these are mainstream people who would never want to do any of this or need it to come in a package that's secular, that's palatable, that doesn't disagree with their religion if they have a particular religion. So for me, it's like, I want to come to your town. I want to, I'll come to your church or your house or whatever. I just want to teach you to meditate. I want to give people this so that they can have it forever, because Maharishi Mahesh Yogi said that if 1% of the population meditated, war would be impossible.
Isn't that the truth?
And I do believe in that.
I do too.
And I want people to know that they're okay, that they can't fail at this, that they can do this, they can't do this wrong. And my one of my biggest things is self-compassion. And, the students asked me yesterday, well, why do I need a meditation practice? A lot of this is just being kind to yourself, to not demanding, not expecting something. And if I can teach people that, I truly believe that if you can learn to be self-compassionate, you can be compassionate with the rest of the world.
That's so true. It's beautifully said. Yeah. I'm so happy that I've had you on the show, but I can't let you go without asking one final question, which I ask all my listeners. So I hope I'm not going to put you on the spot here.
Clearly, that doesn't bother me.
What's one sentence or piece of advice you'd tell your younger self if you could go back in time?
Oh, God.
I know.
It's just that now you can make me cry while people are listening. Wow. That is not fair, Maureen. It's that self-compassion piece. Love yourself. You're okay. Celebrate your difference. Be big. Don't be afraid to be, I'm a tiny human. Don't be afraid to be as big as you are. Celebrate your gifts and your difference.
Perfect. Beautiful. Especially with how you grew up, always feeling a little bit different with your mainstream family.
Exactly. And I kept my gifts under wraps because they weren't, I'm thinking, God, what if I started to do psychic readings at the age of 20 when I felt it strong, and people, you wouldn't have been respected. But it's like, if I didn't spend so long denying it or trying to shut it down or quiet it, in 3 words, I'd say, shine your light.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I loved having you. And when I visit Michelle, I'm going to have to come look you up. I want to meet you so bad.
Please. When are you coming?
I'm going to be there probably within 6 weeks. And then obviously we'll be there in the fall. So yeah, maybe we can work something out and you can come to a meditation session for us. Oh,
it would be my delight to come and do a meditation session with you. I would be honored.
Oh, yay, you're booked.
That's great, Maureen. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for helping me to get this out.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too, my love.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you can, take a moment and give us a review. And please join the VIP room in Facebook for more discussion and insights. You can find us at Graceful Healing Podcast VIP room. See you there and see you next time.